Hello everyone. In this third lecture on principles of inheritance, we are going to discuss about some deviations from what Mendel actually observed during his experiments. So first thing is, until 1900, Mendel's results were not known to the scientific world, so much of the scientific world. Later in 1900, the Mendel's results were actually rediscovered independently by three different scientists. One is Hugo de Vries, Karl Correns, and von Schermach. Then only we came to know regarding Mendel's work, which he has actually published in 1866. So, in that, one of the important deviations that later observed from the Mendel's experiments were multiple alleles. So, we'll try to understand what is actually the multiple alleles first. So, later we'll see other deviations from the Mendel's work. Here, according to Mendel, what we have understood in monohybrid as well as dihybrid cross was each character is having one pair of contrasting traits, and each trait is actually determined by an allele. So basically, each gene was having two different alleles. So there are two alternative forms. There are only two alternative forms for each gene. That's what we understood, whether it is monohybrid cross or dihybrid cross. So for example, if I take the stem length in garden pea, what we have seen was capital T and small t, two different alleles were present. For the seed shape, for round and yellow, capital R and small r, two alleles are present. So we haven't seen more than two alleles for any character so far. But later experiments after 1900, there were some deviations observed from this particular observation. Now here, in the case of character determined by two alleles, so you can see here, two alleles are present in one individual because there are two homologous chromosomes. Each chromosome consists of one allele. Say for example, capital T here and capital T here, two alleles. So they are of same type and the genotype is capital T, capital T. And the alternative forms can be capital T and small t. That's so. So whichever the case it is, only two alleles are present in one individual. If it is dihybrid cross also, we have seen for each gene there are only two alternative forms, capital T small t, capital R small r. Again, two alleles for each gene. When you just look into the blood groups in the people surrounding you, for example, when you take one classroom, you can observe the people with A blood group, B blood group, O blood group, AB blood group. Even you can have A positive, B positive and all that aspect we'll see, but basically with respect to ABO blood grouping, we can have all these blood groups. Here, the AB blood group is actually determined by two alleles, IA, IB. This is another way of representation of allele here. IA, IB. Two alleles are present in the person with AB blood group, whereas the O blood group person will consist of IO, IO. And coming to A, B, there are two different possibilities which we will see once we understood what is actually the multiple allelism here. So here, with respect to these two individuals only, you can observe actually three alleles, not two. IA, IB and IO. Three alleles are present for the determination of blood group. This is what multiple allelism is. So, in the case of multiple allelism, each gene will have more than two alternative forms of a gene. Now, what is the location of these alleles? Is one individual? We'll just look into that in detail. So, in the case of ABO blood grouping, which was actually first observed by Karl Landsteiner, there are three alleles, and the relationship among these three alleles is IA and IB are co-dominant, which means when these two alleles are present together, both will be expressed. But so far we have seen only dominance, where one allele will be dominant over the other. One will be dominant allele, the other one will be recessive allele. But here you can see both alleles will be expressed. Say for example, IA, IB individual, the blood group will be AB because both are co-dominant. This is one important deviation from the dominance, law of dominance proposed by Mendel. And IA, IB both will be dominant over IO. So here you can see codominance as well as dominance relationship. Two kinds of relationship can be seen among these three different alleles. Here, if I take one person with the AB blood group, for example, on one of his homologous chromosome, he'll be having IA, and on the other chromosome, that is its homologous chromosome, in the corresponding locus, he'll be having IB. Or the person may have both of same type, that is IO only. The person can have IA-IO. The person can have IB-IB, or maybe IB-IO, or maybe IA-IA. Like this, by using three different alleles, we are able to write totally 4 plus 2 more types, that is IA-IA and IB-IO. 6 different types of genotypes can be written. Here one important observation is, if you take one individual, he will definitely have 2 alleles only. He cannot have more than 2 alleles on the chromosomes. So multiple allelism doesn't mean that one person is having more than two forms of alleles. One person will always have only 2 alleles only. So like this, 2 alleles or maybe 2 alleles is in all these cases. But when I take the total population here, you can observe 3 different alleles. This is what multiple allelism is exactly. So coming to the phenotypes of these individuals, the first person will be AB because these two are codominant, and this person will be O blood group, and this person will be A blood group because IA is dominant over IO, and this blood person will be B. The same way, if the person is IA, he will also be A only, and if the person is IB, IO also will be B only. This is how the genotypes and the phenotypes of the ABO blood grouping will be. And this particular chromosome which I am talking about is actually our 9th chromosome. So we know totally 23 pairs of chromosomes are there, among which 22 are autosomes. 22 pairs are autosomes. In that, the 9th chromosome will possess these particular alleles. And again, once again, keep in mind that the homologous chromosomes, that is one person, will always have only maximum of 2 alleles only. It is not possible to have all these 3 alleles in the same individual. In a population only you can observe this multiple allelism. That's what the conclusion is. So multiple allelism can be observed only in the population. We cannot see in one individual. Right, when just into the details of this ABO blood grouping, basically what is A blood group means, just observe this. This is the RBC. Actually the shape of the RBC is circular and biconcave. Just for our understanding, here it is shown as one sphere. This is RBC. On the RBC surface, in the person with blood group A, he is having the antigen A. This is the antigen A antigen. Whereas the person B is having B antigen. And AB person is having both antigen B as well as antigen A. O blood group person is not having antigen A or antigen B. Both antigens are absent in the blood group O. This is about the antigens present on the RBC surface. So if your blood group is AB, you are having both antigens A and B. If your blood group is B, you are having antigen B. So what antigen present on the RBC surface, based on that the name of the blood group is given. Now when it comes to the antibodies in the serum, in the plasma, as the person is having antigen A on the surface, for him antigen B is foreign. So the person will have antibody against B, that is anti-B will be present. The same way, if the blood group of the person is B, that is on the RBC surface when antigen B is present, for him antigen A is foreign. Therefore in the serum he will be having anti-A. And coming to the person with the AB, as he is having both antigen A as well as B, nothing is foreign to him, so no antibodies will be generated against any of this. But when it comes to the O, exactly opposite of this, as the antigens are absent on the RBC, both antigen A as well as antigen B will be foreign for him, so he'll produce antibodies anti-A as well as anti-B. This is how the antibodies in the serum or plasma and antigens on the RBC surface will be. The same thing is written here. So the genotype of the person, if it is IO, so as I told you in the earlier slide, the possibilities by using these three alleles will be 6. So these are the 6 different possible genotypes that we have written here. So IO, the person will be O, and antigen on the surface will be no, there will not be any antigen, that's why O. Antibodies in the serum will be both. Now here, if you consider this person as a donor, so if you consider blood transfusion also in the same table, if O is the donor, the recipient can be O, A, B and AB. Why? Because the person is not having on the surface of the RBC, this person is not having both antigen A as well as antigen B. Now if this blood is entering into the person, for example A person is actually producing anti-B but no antigen B on the surface, so this will be accepted. The same way, if O is given to B, here the B person is having anti-A, on the RBC surface there is no antigen A, again it will be accepted. The same way this thing also, no antibodies here and this will be accepted. But when you give A blood to the person O, as the antigens are present on the surface, A antigens, this anti-A will bind with this and there will be clumping of the blood, there will be agglutination of the blood, so this will not be accepted, and B2O is also not accepted, AB2O also not accepted. This is the basis for the blood transfusion value. So when it come to the IA and IAIO, both the genotypes will be of same phenotype, that is A only. Now antigens on the surface A, antibodies will be anti-B, and he is able to or she is able to donate the blood to both A as well as AB. So this is how the blood transfusions and the genotypes and phenotypes will be. Among these, AB blood group is the rarest, and this blood group was actually observed by Castle and Sturley. And the genotypes of various blood groups was actually first found by Bernstein in 1925. So when it comes to the finding of the possible number of genotypes for the given combination of alleles, so we can use simply this formula, that is the number of genotypes possible for the number of alleles given can be simply calculated by using n into n plus 1 by 2, where n is the number of alleles. For example, in this case n value is 3, which means 3 into 3 plus 1, so 4 into 3, that is 12, 12 by 2, that is 6. So we can see totally 6 genotypes are possible that you can calculate by using this. So for any given number of alleles, it is possible to calculate the possible number of genotypes by using this formula. Or when you just see the earlier examples that we have seen, say in the case of stem length, there are 2 alleles, therefore the number of possible genotypes will be 2 into 2 plus 1, that is 3 into 2, 6 by 2, that is 3. So we know capital T, capital T, capital T, small t, small t, small t, only 3 different possibilities are there by using that. So this is how you can calculate the number of possible genotypes. So the principle behind the blood tests will be like this. If you want to find out what blood group is yours, what you have to do is you just collect the blood either the capillary blood from the fingers can be collected, or you can collect the blood from the veins. So that is the blood that is taken in the test tube. This is the test tube and this is the blood. So here in this, you have taken the blood into the test tube, and what you have to do is there will be antibodies available in the market for testing the blood test, that is performing the blood test. So when you add anti-A to this blood, see if this blood is A blood group, then what happens? The antigens present on the RBC surface will be A. So antigen A and antibody A, these two will bind and there will be clumping, agglutination of the blood. The same way, if the blood group is B, when you add anti-B, antigen B and antibody B will bind together and there will be agglutination, clumping of the blood. So if the clumping is with anti-A, when you add the anti-A, there is clumping, the blood group is A. And if the clumping is with anti-B, the blood group is B. And if there is clumping with both antibody A as well as antibody B, then the blood group will be AB. If no clumping at all, when you add anti-A and when you add anti-B, there is no clumping. When the RBC is not having any antigen, whatever the antibody you add, there will not be clumping. There will not be binding of this antibody with this antigen. Therefore, that blood group will be O. That's how you can find out the blood group. So the simple way to represent that is this. See here, this is no clumping, whereas this one is clumping. So when there is a clumping of the blood, this is how we have represented. So this is the control, that is the blood directly which is being taken without adding any kind of antibodies. This is the control is. So in the first set, in the first person's blood, you have added anti-A, no clumping. You have added anti-B, no clumping. Control is obviously no clumping. In the second person, there is clumping with anti-A and there is no clumping with anti-B, and control obviously will be like this. In the third person, no clumping with anti-A but clumping with anti-B. And in the fourth person, there is clumping with both anti-A and anti-B. So by observing this, we can tell what blood group this person belongs to. So the first person, as there is no clumping with any of these antibodies, that person will be O. And the second person, when there is clumping with only anti-A, that person will be A. And the third case, where the clumping is with only anti-B, the person will be B. The fourth person will be AB, as there is clumping with both of this. This is the principle behind how the blood test is actually performed in the laboratory. And coming to the molecular basis for this blood grouping, I am simply saying that antigen A, antigen B present on the RBC surface. What exactly this antigen means? It is actually an oligosaccharide chain. This is how the oligosaccharide chain will be in the person with the O blood group. This is actually called O antigen, which we consider as nothing. So here, glucose, galactose, N-acetyl galactosamine, and here you can see galactose, fucose. These are the monosaccharides, and together they are forming one oligosaccharide chain on the RBC surface. This is the RBC completely. On the RBC surface, this is O antigen is. In the person with the A blood group, the allele IA is present. So as we know, allele means it is actually gene only. It is one form of gene only. So in the person with the IA, this gene or allele here is able to produce N-acetyl galactose transferase. This is the enzyme produced in the person with the IA antigen. That is IA gene. So this person is able to add N-acetyl galactose on this oligosaccharide. This is how it will be. So you can see this is the person with O blood group. On this, if the person is A blood group, if the person is having IA allele is able to add N-acetyl galactose. So this is modified into this. This is what antigen A is. The same way, in the person with the B blood group, IB allele is able to generate galactose transferase. That is, instead of N-acetyl galactose, here galactose will be added to this, like this. This antigen is B. So antigen A, antigen B. This is how the antigens will be. That's what we are representing simply like this on the RBC surface. Later, Karl Landsteiner and Alexander Wiener have observed one more important antigen on the RBC surface. Apart from A antigen and B antigen, they found one more antigen when they were studying the blood from rhesus monkey, that is Macaca mulatta. This is what the rhesus monkey is. So on the RBC surface of these monkeys, they found there is one specific antigen, that is antigen D. Like antigen A, antigen B, this is one more antigen present on the RBC surface. Later, the same antigen was found on the human RBC also. First, it was observed on rhesus monkey. That's why this this blood group is named as RH blood group, where RH refers to rhesus monkey. So if the person is having antigen D, then that person is considered as RH positive. No antigen on the RBC surface means it will be RH negative. So whenever I say the person is A positive, that means on the RBC surface he is having antigen A and RH antigen, that is antigen D. The same way, if I say the person is O negative, on the RBC surface no AB antigens and D antigen also. That's what O negative will be. Again, while finding out the blood group, whether he is O positive or O negative, in addition to the antibodies that we have seen in the earlier case, if you add one more antibody, that is anti-D. So in this case, if the person is O positive, if you add anti-D, what happens? You just try to find out this. So if the person is O positive, that is, if the person is having antigen D on the RBC surface, and when you add anti-D, will there be clumping here or not? The same way, O negative, will there be clumping? B positive, AB negative, AB positive, A positive, A negative, all these things you can find out. The principle is same as we have seen in the case of ABO blood grouping. This is the overall compatibility of ABO blood grouping, considering both A antigen, B antigen, and antigen D also. So O negative person is actually the true universal donor. O negative blood can be given to any person, whereas AB positive is actually the true universal recipient. He can take the blood from any of this. O positive blood cannot be given to O negative, A negative, B negative, AB negative. It can be given to only O positive only. The same way the other blood groups also. So overall, when you just consider only the ABO blood grouping only, O blood can be given to A, B, AB. That's why O is normally considered as the universal donor. With respect to RH factor also, O negative is the true universal donor. The same way, AB is the universal recipient. With respect to RH blood grouping, AB positive will be the universal recipient. And when it comes to the transfusion of plasma, exactly the reverse of this thing can be found like this. So the plasma from AB person can be given to A, B as well as O, because the concept here is entirely different. That is exactly opposite to this, where AB serum, we are talking about only the plasma transfusion, not RBC. So AB plasma or serum consists of no antibodies. Therefore, this can be given to A as well as B. So the principle is exactly opposite to this. So blood transfusion compatibility is this, whereas the plasma compatibility is like this. As we have seen in the case of ABO blood grouping, 3 alleles were present, and the 6 combinations of genotypes are there, and depending on the relationship between those alleles, we have seen how the phenotypic determination will be. But when it comes to the RH blood grouping, there are two important hypotheses to explain how this RH antigen will be expressed. So in that, the first hypothesis is given by Fisher and Race, according to which one homologous chromosome pair is having 3 pairs of alleles. That is, in this particular locus, the person can have C small c, or you can write different combinations, obviously capital C, capital C, capital C small c, or capital C, or maybe small c, like this. You can write 3 different genotypes with respect to this. The same way this also, capital D, capital D, capital D small d, small d, small d, capital E, capital E, capital E small e, small e, small e. Like this you can write 3 different genotypes with respect to each pair of alleles. According to Fisher and Race, these 3 pairs of alleles together will determine the antigen, that is RH antigen or antigen D here. According to them, when the person is having capital D or capital D small d, he will be RH positive. So this is the one actually that determines the blood group, in addition to these two. So small d will be RH negative. So if the person is capital C, capital small c, capital D, small d, capital E, small e. See, this is the other way of writing the genotypes. You need not to confuse here. So simply this only is being written like this. So here the meaning of this representation is, I am saying that these 3 alleles are present on one chromosome, these 3 alleles are present from the other chromosome. That's what can be written like this also. So when you write like the genotype like this, the meaning is these 3 are present on one allele, one chromosome, that is one chromosome in homologous chromosome pair, and these 3 on the other chromosome on the same homologous chromosome pair. So the person with this will be RH positive. This person will be, as he is having capital D, at least one capital D, see this, he will be RH positive. And this person is having small d, therefore he will be RH negative. So this is what Fisher and Race hypothesis was. So like this you can write different other combinations of the genotypes. In all those cases, what you have to see is whether the person is capital D, capital D small d, or small d. Based on this only you can predict whether he is RH positive or RH negative. Coming to the Wiener hypothesis, according to him, 8 alleles are present on the same locus. So according to them, 3 loci on the homologous chromosome pair, but here single locus can have 8 different possibilities. This is similar to what we have seen in the ABO blood grouping. There it is only 3 alleles, but here it is 8 alleles. So by using these 8 alleles, you can write different combinations. So how many genotypes that can be written with this 8 alleles? You can again calculate by using n into n plus 1 by 2 formula. So you can write all the possible genotypes with that. And if, for example, the person is having at least one R, capital R. So in capital R again I am having 4 different possibilities, R1, R2, RO, RZ. So at least one capital R if present, then that blood group will be RH positive. If both alleles are of small r only, whichever that R will be, these R's, then that blood group will be RH negative. So R2, R11, R11 for example will be RH positive. The same way R1 will be RH negative. Like this you can write all the possible combinations and just see if at least one capital R is present, then that blood group will be RH positive. And one important thing regarding this RH blood grouping is RH incompatibility that can be seen when the mother is RH negative and father is RH positive. So say this is the orange colored one that shown here is fetus, and this is the mother is. So this is the mother's blood and this is the fetus blood. Mother is Rh negative as we have seen in this case. So Rh negative, whereas the fetus is Rh positive. We are talking about only the Rh blood group only here. So the person, that is the fetus, now having antigen D. If this antigen enter into mother's blood, then mother will start producing the antibodies against this D antigen. If this antigen is not entering into the mother's blood, then she will not produce antibodies. So here one thing you have to keep in mind, a Rh negative person will start generating anti-D antibodies only when exposed to the Rh antigen, that is antigen D. Otherwise, the person will not generate these antibodies. So when mother is going to generate these antibodies against antigen D means when this antigens entering into the mother's blood. So just to avoid this confusion in this discussion so far, we'll just see the case in detail. Here, in the first issue, in the first pregnancy, let us take fetus is Rh positive, mother is Rh negative. So when the fetus will be Rh positive, when the father is Rh positive, there is a possibility of the fetus to having Rh positive. Otherwise, the fetus can be Rh negative also, the mother's blood, but we are taking this particular case. So mother is Rh negative, fetus is Rh positive. So in the first issue, in the first pregnancy, there will not be any problem because fetus blood, fetus antigens will not enter into mother's blood. But at the time of parturition, that is during the delivery, the blood vessels of mother will rupture and the fetus blood can enter into mother's blood. That is, antigens from fetus can enter into mother's blood at the time of parturition, delivery. Then mother will start producing the antibodies against this particular antigen. So the first fetus is being delivered, there will not be effect on this. But mother started producing antibodies against this after the parturition process. So mother start producing the antibodies. The type of antibodies will be IgG here after parturition. So there are 5 different types of antibodies, in fact, IgG, IgA, IgD, IgM and IgE, among which the antibodies against antigen D are actually IgG type. And in the second pregnancy also, if fetus is again Rh positive like father and the mother is Rh negative, as during the first delivery, already mother started producing antibodies. These antibodies are able to cross the placenta. So antibodies are produced by mother, they are able to cross the placenta, this, and will enter into the fetus blood. So what happens now? There will be clumping. There will be breakdown of RBC of the fetus because the antibodies from mother are entering into fetus. So IgG antibodies able to cross the placenta. Actually, this is the basis for this passive immunity. The same thing is causing problem in this case. So there will be breakdown of the RBC of the fetus. The condition is considered as erythroblastosis fetalis, where erythro is erythrocytes, RBC, blastosis breakdown, fetalis. So fetus RBC is broken down. Or hemolytic disease of newborn. Hemolytic, that is breakdown of blood. Hemo is blood. Disease of the newborn. Here there is a possibility of the fetus to be killed also. The fetus may die. So to prevent this, once mother delivered the Rh positive fetus, before the mother's immune system activated by the antigens of the fetus, mother will be given with anti-D antibodies. These antibodies will bind with the antigens coming from the fetus and will break down. Therefore, the mother will not start generating the antibodies. So before mother's immune system getting activated with the antigens from the fetus, we are destroying these antigens by giving these antibodies. This is how we can prevent this particular erythroblastosis fetalis. So erythroblastosis fetalis can be seen only when the mother is Rh negative and the fetus is Rh positive. And the first fetus will not be affected. Only the effect will be on the subsequent Rh positive fetus only. In plants also, multiple allelism can be observed. We have discussed about the self-incompatibility in the plants where the pollen grains from the same plant will not be allowed to germinate. The basis for that is actually this multiple allelism only. It was first observed by East in 1925. So in this case, in Nicotiana, that is tobacco plant, there are 5 different alleles: S1, S2, S3, S4 and S5. Here, let us take the plant is S2 and S3 type. The gynoecium I am talking about, the female plant or the female reproductive part, when you consider, it is S2, S3 type. If the pollen grains are generated from S1, S2 kind of a plant, as S1 pollen grain is not, sorry, S1 allele is not present in this female reproductive part, this will be accepted. This pollen grain is able to germinate. But when it is S2 type, as the S2 is already present in this, it will not be allowed to germinate. So the female reproductive part is able to detect whether it belongs to the same kind or not depending on these alleles. If the pollen grain is of S2, S3 type, definitely both pollen grains will not be allowed to germinate. So you can understand here why I am writing only one allele in the pollen grain. Pollen grain is actually haploid, so it can have only one allele. That's why either S1 or S2 will be present in the pollen grains. So here S2 is not allowed to germinate because already this plant is, this gynoecium is S2 type. So the same thing is shown here. This is the style on this stigma. If the gynoecium is S1, S2 type and the pollen grains are S3, S4 type, both will be allowed to germinate. But if the pollen grain is S1 type, it will not be allowed to germinate. If the pollen grains are S1 or S2 type, both will not be allowed to germinate. So same allele if present in the pollen grain, which is same as the gynoecium, that will not be allowed to germinate. So the different compatibilities can be written in a tabular form like this, where the male plant, for example, is S1, S2 and the female plant is S1, S2, it will not be allowed to germinate. That is, self-sterility can be seen here. And if the plant is male parent is S2, S3 and S1, S2 female plant is there, as we know, S2 and S2. Therefore, this S2 pollen grain is not allowed to germinate. So you can find the self-sterilities of various possibilities here. So S1, S2 is self-sterile here, whereas S2, S3, right? So in this, self-sterility can be seen on this, and if it is S3, S4 male parent pollen type, and S3, S4 is this, again there will not be germination of this, but the self-sterility can be seen in this case also. Now, overall, the characteristics of multiple alleles can be categorized into 3 different types. One is no crossing over occurs within the alleles. So what is crossing over and all, we'll just see in the chromosomal basis, but crossing over is not possible within the same alleles. Between the genes, the crossing over is present, that too when they are present on the same chromosome, but between the alleles, the crossing over is not possible. always responsible for the same character. That's what we understood, whether it is two alleles for a gene or more than two alleles for a gene, but all the alleles are responsible for the same phenotype, the same character only. And the wild type alleles are dominant. So if you have many alleles, that is multiple allelism, in that which allele is dominant means normally the wild allele will be dominant, the mutant forms will be recessive. So try to find out one a problem here, solution for this problem here. In case of rabbit, there are four alleles that regulate the coat color. In that, capital C, small c, h, small c, ch, small c. There are four different alleles in which capital C is responsible for the agouti. This is what the agouti is. The coat color is agouti. This one is. This is actually the wild type is. C, small ch is Himalayan type, where you can find dark color in the extreme parts, that is surrounding the mouth and in the feet also you can find this, and even in the ears also you can find the dark color, whereas the remaining body color will be this. This is called Himalayan type, this one. So small ch is responsible for Himalayan type of coat color. And coming to the chinchilla, C small ch, that is small c ch, this is how the chinchilla will be. And albino, there will not be pigmentation at all, therefore the coat color will be completely white. This is how it will be. Now coming to the relationship among these four alleles, as we have already understood, wild type allele will be dominant, therefore capital C is dominant over all this. So capital C is dominant over a small c ch, that is chinchilla allele, and chinchilla allele is dominant over Himalayan and the albino types, and Himalayan type is dominant over the albino type. So this is the relationship was. But in the case of ABO blood grouping, we have seen IA is equally dominant, co-dominant with IB, and both are dominant over IO. That is a different type of relationship. But here the relationship is like this. Now try to find out, try to calculate the possible number of genotypes from these four alleles, and find out the phenotypes for all the possible genotypes that you find from these combinations. So this is one of the important deviation from the Mendel's regular proposal, that is multiple allelism. So the other deviations from the Mendel's experiments we'll see in the next lecture. Thank you very much for your attention.